So we're going to open with a welcome and opening statements from our candidates, moving from right to left in alphabetical order. With Thomas Ash, you have 2 minutes. Our timekeeper is in the front. You have 2 minutes. He will notify you when you have 45 seconds and all 10 seconds. And then we will move on to the next candidate. So the opening statement from Thomas Ash.
Thank you. Thank you, Keyshawn. I want to thank AIC and also Walter and McKnight Neighborhood Council for sponsoring this event. My name is Tom Ash. I'm a lifelong resident of the city of Springfield. I grew up on Hungry Hill, and I now reside on Gillette Avenue in East Forest Park. I'm employed at the YMCA of Greater Springfield, where I serve as a senior vice president. Prior to my current position, I worked for 18 years in the correctional system, both here and in Worcester counties. I think that background has provided me with some unique insight into public safety in urban settings. I've been appointed a chair of the Public Safety Committee in 6 years in the council by 3 different council presidents. I'm proud of the work that this council has done on pawn shop and the hookers and hawkers and peddlers ordinances, which I believe provided a level of safety in our hoods. I'm also very proud of the work the council has put into all of the economic development projects that are currently underway in the city of Springfield. On a personal note, I'm father to 3 great children. My son Tom is a senior at Seton Hall University. My son Lauren is a freshman at Hartwick College, and my daughter Alana is a high school sophomore.
All set.
Yep.
Thank you, Tom. Our next candidate, Jeffrey Donnelly.
Yes, my name is Jeff Donnelly. Thank you very much for everyone being here tonight. Basically, my education is psychology, criminal justice, fine art education. I have a bachelor's degree. As for work, I've worked in the past in DYS, Department of Youth Services. I've in the past been a volunteer park ranger. And basically what I want to do for the city is we've got a lot of quality of life issues that need to be addressed because we've got people that are being fleeced by the city. We also have a lot of corruption in the city that needs to be addressed as well. You know, I'm not a politician. I'm good.
Thank you, Jeff. Justin Hurst.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. It's an honor and privilege to be here before you today. I'd like to start off by thanking Keyshawn Dodds, American International College, as well as Power and the Neighborhood Council for hosting this event. It's so critically important that we always think about bringing government to the people as opposed to having people come down to City Hall. So it's a pleasure to be here. My name is Justin Hurst, born and raised in the city of Springfield. I'm the proud son of Frederick and Marjorie Hurst, who some of you may know, the publisher and editor of Point of View, respectively. I also am the husband of Denise Hurst, who is currently a Springfield School Committee, and I'm the proud father of Justin Jr., who will likely be someone very special in the near future. I graduated from the Springfield Public Schools. Actually, Keyshawn and I graduated together from Springfield Central High School, where I received a great education. Upon graduation, I attended the University of Virginia. After attending the University of Virginia, I realized that I wanted to give back to the city that had given me so much, and I felt an obligation to come back to Springfield and to give back to the community. Upon returning to Springfield, I attended Western New England College School of Law. At the same time, I taught high school English at Academy, and from Bridge Academy, I ended up transferring to the High School of Science and Technology, where I spent 7 years teaching English. I graduated from Western New England College School of Law in 2004, received my doctorate degree in 2006, was an administrator for the Springfield Public School System for 3 years, and currently I am a small business owner of an investment company, London Realty, as well as an adjunct professor at Cary College. I'm actually honored to serve the citizens of Springfield on the City Council. It's been a great 2 years. I ran for office in 2011 and fell short, but undeterred, I ran again in 2013 and was elected. So I'm absolutely privileged to serve you, and I hope to continue serving you in this next term. Thank you.
Thank you, Justin. Jesse Letterman.
Well, I also want to start off by thanking the McKnight Neighborhood Council and American International College, as well as Power, for giving myself and my colleagues the opportunity to come here tonight and share with you our views on how we feel we can make Springfield a better place for all of our families to live. A little bit about myself. I'm very proud to have called Springfield home my entire life. I grew up just down the street at the corner of Bay and Clarendon, and I'm proud to also be a product of the Springfield public school system. I went on to attend the George Washington University in Washington, D.C., where I studied social work and political science, and also worked with an organization as the National Low-Income Housing Coalition, which is a large nonprofit that focuses on ensuring that federal funding for housing programs are maintained to support housing for all, especially the most vulnerable among us. But while in Washington, I realized very quickly that was not where I wanted to be, and I came home to Springfield to finish my degree at the University of Massachusetts. In Springfield, I've had the opportunity to serve on the board of directors of the McKnight Neighborhood Council, as well as the Springfield Preservation Trust, the Springfield Armory Alliance, the Springfield Democratic City Committee, and the governing board of Springfield Renaissance School. I chose to run for the Springfield City Council at-large this year because, like many of you, I see the changes that our city is facing. And we have a lot of projects that are going to come to fruition over the next several years. MGM, Union Station, our railways. We're talking a lot about business in the city of Springfield, and that's important. I want to continue that conversation. But I want to bring focus to our neighborhoods, to public safety, to quality of life, to public education, and ensure that our neighborhood voices are included in those conversations going forward. So again, I appreciate the opportunity to come out and speak with you all this evening, and I look forward to the rest of the debate.
Thank you, Jesse. To my immediate left, Ken Pooler.
Thank you very much. And again, I want to thank Mr. Dodds for having this forum on tonight and giving us the opportunity to speak to the residents of the city of Springfield. I, too, am a graduate of 1984 of Classical High School, very proud Classical High School graduate. And I went on to run my own business for a little while, and I moved on to becoming the president for 17 years of the DPW Laborers Union here in Springfield. I've negotiated numerous contracts with numerous mayors over the few years that I was there. I spearheaded against the Charlie Ryan administration that wanted to privatize the Springfield Trash Department back there in his time in office. I'm very, very proud of that. Obviously, we see where that has gone now with the trash fee, and it's not that successful for the people of Springfield to continue to have to pay that. I own my own business here in Springfield. I am an employee of First Niagara Financial Group in Feeding Hills. I have a wonderful 7-year-old daughter and a fantastic 13-year-old son. And I am running on being devoted to my family and committed to people. It's something that seems to be of lost art when it comes to city council. I think the days of having politicians run our city is at an end. And I truly believe that what you need is somebody that come out there and represent the people, to voice the people's opinions. If you look at the track record right now in Springfield, our crime rate has grown, our drug use has grown, and it's grown under some of the same hands over the last few years. So when you're looking at voting, please don't look at what school I graduated from or what my name is or who I know or who I owe. Look at somebody who is actually committed to the city and committed to the people of Springfield. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Ken. Tim Rook.
Thank you, Keyshawn. I won't be repetitive and thank everybody, but it's great to be here as an alumni of AIC and as an alumnus of S. I can remember when I graduated from Cathedral High School, I told my father I wanted to go to a college in Vermont, and he asked me to jump in the car, and he was going to give me a tour of the campus I was going to go to when he dropped me off at STCC. At the time, it was about $500 a year. I worked as a security guard, paid my way through college, and then came up to STCC to AIC. I'm happy to serve on the City Council by the grace of God and by the voters of Springfield. I like to think of myself as the voice of reason and logic. A lot of times there are some lopsided votes, and I'm on the minority side of those votes. I tend to be a fiscal conservative and very social on liberal issues. My background is I'm a small business owner. I'm fortunate enough to work with some people and employ about 35 individuals. So payroll is something that we have to meet every week, and with payroll comes responsibilities and the ability to make difficult decisions. I like to treat every tax dollar like it's yours or like it's mine. And if we don't have the money, we can't afford the projects, and we can't afford some of the things that people would like that just are not possible. And I think more people have to be empowered to say no rather than to say yes to get along and go along. So I'm happy to be here tonight. I'm open to any questions that you might have, and look forward to continuing to serve you and the residents of Springfield. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Tim. Bud Williams.
Thank you. Protocol has been set, but I do want to thank residents for coming out tonight to support this, and also to the candidates who put their name in the ring year in, year out. My name is Bud Williams. I'm born in the city of Springfield, born in the north end of Springfield, one of 10 children. Grew up in the boys club. The north end was a melting pot. Left the north end, moved to McKnight, lived on Bay and Daw Street for a number of years. Then moved to St. James Avenue in Princeton, next to Harold's Funeral Home, lived there for many years. Then moved to Pine Point, and then moved to East Forest Park, where I currently reside. Educated in the Springfield Public School System, Putnam, which is trade school now, graduate, Westfield State, master's degree, BA from Westfield State, master's degree from the University of Massachusetts. I understand what community means. I ran for city council 3 times before I was elected, and I have the community service. As a teacher, taught at Homer Street, taught at DB school. Left there, went to the probation department where I counseled thousands and thousands of young people in the city of Springfield, put them back on the right track. Left there, went to public service. Very proud of my record. My wife, educated, Dr. Gloria Williams, former principal of Frank B. Friedman School, 2 children who currently live in the city of Springfield. I've been involved in public service all my life. The Dunbar Community Center, coached thousands and thousands of kids. DeBerry, thousands and thousands of kids. Dads Make a Difference, work with fathers. Urban League of Springfield, NAACP, member of my lodge, Richard Allen, number 33. I have the experience and the know-how. This is moving in the right direction. Do we have challenges? Yes, we do. But this body has done a tremendous job in keeping, I think, the public services with no layoffs. Thank you.
Thank you, Bud. Last but not least,
I was just going to say that. Last
Cary
but
Walsh.
not least, I'm City Councilor Cary Walsh, and I am running for an at-large position for re-election to the Springfield City Council. And I am committed to the city of Springfield. My husband Danny and I have raised our 7 children in Springfield. And interestingly enough, I was thinking as I was driving here, the Walshes have been in Springfield since the late 1800s. Danny's great-great-grandfather came here from Ireland for something we talk about now. He came for a job at the Springfield Armory. We talk a lot about jobs. It's still just as important. The Walshes settled on King and Lebanon Street and then moved on into Forest Park. So we have a long history in the city of Springfield. We love the city of Springfield. We want to make sure that the city is run, that it provides opportunity for children in our schools, that we keep people safe, we honor our seniors, we protect our veterans. And my philosophy on the Springfield City Council, I think the best thing you can do as a city councilor is to listen, to appreciate all different points of view. I am one of 7, the mother of 7, and I now have 11 grandchildren. So to say that I am used to a lot of different points of view and get along with a lot of people, it's definitely not a stretch. And having that background has made me be able to listen to a lot of different points of view, see what's on people's minds. I have a record of experience, leadership, and integrity on the Springfield City Council. I've been involved in some wonderful projects. I think it's a very exciting time to be involved in the city of Springfield. There's a lot that's happening that many of my colleagues, the people here with me, have worked hard to make sure we have opportunities here in Springfield. It's always been my goal to make sure that we have opportunities here in Springfield that will improve the quality of life. I hope you agree with me that I have done that. So thank you for coming tonight, and thank you for listening.
Thank you, catering. Just want to say thank you to our timekeeper for keeping everybody on task, and all of our candidates, thank you for staying on. Welcome, and thank you to our 2015 at-large city council candidates. Next up, we have our two parts. We have our prepared questions from our moderator and our candidates' questions and rebuttals. This will be run by our McKnight Neighborhood Council member, Walter Kroll.
Good evening, everybody. Just want to thank all the candidates again, both for your service and for your efforts out. It takes a lot of guts to throw yourself out there. Volunteer your time away from your family in order to help all of our families. So from all of us, and the same for all the citizens that have come out, same thing. You're sacrificing your time to come out, invest yourself, and really see who's here. That's a big deal. So you guys need a round of applause, and so do they. Again, want to welcome everybody and just say that this is the 6th co-sponsored event that the McKnight Neighborhood Council's done with AIC. As an alumnus of 94, and I had the pleasure to help start the wrestling team here. It's always good to come home. So thanks again. So we'll get started with our questions. It'll be one question to all candidates. These questions have been gathered from citizens. We pinged the neighborhood councils in the media. We'll have a total of 4 questions covering the casino project, public safety and crime, the biomass incinerator project, and neighborhood council contribution and impact. The first question, Bud, just so you know, we're going to start with you, and as we go, we'll just go to your right to Cary and then come back this way. You guys will have seconds to respond, or up to 90 seconds to respond. And this question actually comes from John Bayback of WHYM. All Springfield officials have pointed out that the casino project is one that will put the city at a new level. What is your reaction to the MGM casino redesign, and are you at all concerned about the possible downsizing of the project? Also, looking forward to the future beyond the casino development, what is the next part that you see that the city needs to continue for its progress? You can start, Bud.
Thank you, and thanks, John Bayback, for doing this thing. It's with mixed emotions as I looked at the change of MGM, scaling down from the tower, which the hotel is going to go into. And as I said to the Union News today, who was doing a poll, they polled counselors, and I said, when that plan officially comes before me, I'll take a look at it. We don't even have site approval as of yet. But what I do know, and I hope they print this, I am concerned the $800 million investment in our city, the $50 million of goods and services, the jobs, the construction jobs, and the permanent jobs. That's what my focus is going to be. With the diversity for WBEs, MBEs, VBEs, which are veteran groups, women groups, and people of color. I am concerned, and I will continue to be concerned. I'm not going to get sidetracked. Governor Patrick and the Mats legislature very keen on what they said. We want that casino in Springfield to give Springfield a shot in the arm. And that shot in the arm are jobs, and more investment so we can get this city up and running. When I hear from young people, I just did a drug march with Commissioner Barbari's tonight. Great attendance, went to MLK Center. It's folks need jobs, they need training, workforce development. I'm just as much concerned about that as I am about the scale down of the casino.
Thank you. Cary.
Well, I think many people were surprised, as I was surprised, when MGM announced that they were not going to have the tower. I felt, when I heard the news at a press conference, that MGM had made almost a promise to the city of Springfield in its design. They campaigned very hard to get your support for the casino, and I think many people, like myself, brought into the way it would look and the wow factor. I think it's very important that the Springfield still retains the wow factor with the casino. I think we also have to be cognizant that we are giving something up. I don't believe we should give something up unless we get something back in return. I do not think it means that they are not committed to Springfield. And as my colleague said, people are still concerned about the jobs. We all want the jobs and we want them to start. But we will be giving something up and we should be getting something back in return, yet to be determined. But yes, I would have preferred if they had stuck to the original plan. However, I'm hearing from a lot of people that like the new design, so I think it's a mixed bag.
Thank you. Mr. Ash, to you.
I think, like many of you and many people, initially I was disappointed by the change in the scope of the project. But as many of my colleagues had an opportunity to sit down with MGM officials, Mike Mathis and others, and my first question to them is, regardless of the change in the structure, are you still fully committed to this project? And there was no hesitation. We're fully in. We're committed to this project. We're committed to Springfield. And so to the extent that, like many of you, I'm a little bit disappointed that it's changing. I'm okay with the redesign. I think perhaps even the architecture is more in line with the down now, the way it's going to be constructed. So I think overall, the fact that we're still committed, we're still going to see those jobs, we're still going to see the $24 million a year and also the economic development spinoff that goes with it. I'm satisfied, not elated, but satisfied, still fully committed to the city.
Thank you. Jeffrey Donnelly, to you, sir.
Yes. The redesign, I'm actually for it over the original plan because if you get down to it, Springfield's got a long history in this, and the architecture down there that they're wiping out, the new redesign actually fits more in line with what the city, with its past and hopefully with its future. Like a huge tower with MGM, wow, a wow factor. I see it more of as a billboard for the casino, more like advertising. As for everything else, the city has a lot of crime going on, and hopefully the funds and everything else will be used to that situation. Because with a casino, yes, it does bring some negative, but at the same time, where they're locating the casino already has those issues. I'm done.
Very good. Thank you. Mr. Hurst.
Thank you. I, like my colleagues, was also concerned with respect to them not building this illustrious tower, but I think in my conversations with Mr. Mathis, one that I was concerned about was the slippery slope effect. And so once you start taking down the tower, the question is, what is next? And how are you going to inform the public that this is not something that is going to continue to happen? And I was reassured by Michael Mathis that not only were they going to invest the $800,000, which I think is critical, and I think it's something that everybody wanted to see happen, but the likelihood is very high that they were going to go $800 million and invest closer to $850 million. Additionally, like my colleagues, I'm concerned about the 3,000 jobs. That's really where my focus is at, and the 2,000 construction jobs. I love the fact that at the presentation that they gave us, that they said they're at 675 with respect to construction jobs. And just to piggyback off of Councilor Williams, I think it's also critical that we make sure that they live up to what they said with respect to hiring women, minorities, and veterans. They said that their goals were 6.9%. And to date, the project's at 8.16%. When it comes to minorities, they said they were going to hire 15.3%, and to date, they've hired 28.10%. Veterans, they need to do a little work on, which I also expressed to Michael Mathis, but I was pleased certainly how they ranked in the other categories. When it came to their construction commitment, same thing. Women were at 10%, and 11.3% is where they're at now. Minorities 5%, and they're at 13.2% when it comes to construction. I also love the idea of the fact that they were willing to buy 195 State Street and turn it into market rate housing. I think a casino itself is not going. Springfield is not going to thrive on solely a casino. So the fact that they are going to move these market rate housing off of site, I think is absolutely critical, and allows people to experience more of the downtown. And the fact also looking at other buildings that were previously vacant, I think is absolutely critical.
Very good. Mr. Letterman.
I have been cautious and hesitant since casino gaming was introduced in the state of Massachusetts and subsequently in Springfield. And the reason for that being is because we've seen what casinos have done to small municipalities across the United States that they have moved into. I do give and have given and continue to give MGM credit for being a bit of a different model. They are working hard to integrate into this. And so I think, like many folks in the city, I'm interested to see where it goes. I had the opportunity to attend the Gaming Commission hearing in Springfield on the proposed changes, and I've also gotten a lot of calls from folks about them. And I think that the bigger issue here that people are concerned about is not so much the physical change, but the fact that they're deviating from a negotiation and a commitment that they made when voters went to the polls. And I told people as an organizer, I was working professionally during the time that the vote happened. A lot of people asked me, how they should vote on this. I said the thing you need to take into consideration is when a politician makes a promise to you or an elected official, you'll get to vote for them or not vote for them again 2 years later. With MGM, there is no opportunity for that. And so I want to assure the folks here and also the folks at home that as your Springfield City Councilor, I will, together with my colleagues and with the mayor's administration, to hold MGM accountable for the promises that they made and the negotiations that they agreed to. As for a project that I think we need to work on, I'm very proud to be endorsed by the AFL-CIO Central Labor Council. And I want to talk about the 35% number that was promised to, good faith effort for 35% of jobs to go to Springfield residents. We need to work with our unions to push our high school kids into the apprenticeship programs so that we have a trained and developed workforce to fill out both those construction jobs and then later on jobs at the casino.
Great, thank you. Mr. Pooler.
As all the other candidates here are, I'm very, very disappointed in the lowering of the tower. What really bothers me the most is who's going to reap the benefits from the tower disappearing here in Springfield. As we see, they're already reaching out to other properties. I'm as Mr. Letterman said, I'm very, very happy that 25 State Street was bought for this market rate housing. The problem is that I'd like to see more of the city properties bought up and utilized for that purpose. What I don't want to see is some of our local businessmen continuing to reap benefits based on decisions that our city council makes on a yearly basis. The Piccinelli property on State Street is definitely not the right place. I don't agree with that being even brought in. I don't agree with Piccinelli actually having the opportunity to reap rewards or benefits. You won't hear this from another candidate, I can guarantee that. I tell it how it is, and this is the truth. I also believe that with technology the way it is these days, I believe that we can bring a wow factor into the city for this casino other than the tower. I think that should be looked at. They talk about people passing by I-91 and that the tower was going to bring in revenue. Well, I think there's a wow factor that we can bring in to that property to give the same wow factor that the tower was given. And as far as future, I think we really need to think about our schools that we have out there depleted, that are run down. I walk through these schools and I see these children, and I lived in the classical era where there was moss growing in the corners of the school. And I don't want to see our children having to go through schools that were in those conditions. I think that's where our focus needs to be on our next projects here in Springfield.
Thank you. Mr. Rook.
Let me address some of the concerns that the media raises. There is no cutback on GM project. Essentially, what they've done is they've taken a tower that was going to be upright, and they are laying it down from State and Main Street to Howard and Main Street. Same amount of rooms. Actually, there's 2 more rooms. There are 2 more rooms when they lay it down. There are no development projects on the opposite side of the street. In any construction project, with each development as you go block by block, businesses will start to relocate across the street where those storefronts are now empty. There's no downsizing of the project. They're actually going to be spending more money. They're going to be above the $800 million project of private investment. So the benefit to the city is the largest economic development project in the history of the city of Springfield with private money. There are going to be some tremendous benefits to the city, but the casino alone is not going to save the city. As Justin Hurst, my colleague, had mentioned, we need to have other irons in the fire, which some of us are working on. As to what is the next project that's the most exciting project, the Chang Chung Railroad project in East Springfield. That will probably have a more lasting impact on families and neighborhoods than the MGM construction project itself. I have 10 seconds left, so I'll stop there. People need to read the community host agreement. The magic number MGM is only supposed to meet is $500 million. They are locked in to the construction project by square footage and grade and quality of construction. That was designed because at the time the market was fluctuating on price. So it was a very wise decision to lock them in to square foot and quality rather than a dollar figure.
Thank you. Awesome. Good job, guys. Just a reminder that our timer is here, so we're going to try and stay on time so we keep it fair for all candidates. So when you see that 10-second reminder, try to hit that. Question 2. This one actually comes from Ray Herschel at News 40. And Jesse, you're going to start this one off. Despite the fact that the latest FBI crime stats show violent crime down 1% in Springfield and property crime down 17%, one of the most talked about issues is still crime. Many people are scared because in recent months, the violent crime seems increasingly random at different times of the day and night. Commissioner Berry has instituted several initiatives designed to combat crime and increase the quality of life. Do you feel these initiatives are working, or do you have a plan to help reduce and improve the quality of life for the neighborhoods and the citizens?
As we've made our way, my campaign across Springfield since I announced in February, we're knocking on doors and we're talking with residents at their homes. And absolutely, the top 2 things that they talk to me about, the first is public education, the second is public. And it's true that many of both our residents and people that visit our city have a perception that it's unsafe and do not feel safe here. And I think that's a major issue for us. I've had the opportunity to attend many of the C3 meetings, both in Forest Park, the North End, and Mason Square, and I think that program that is a good start. But what I think is much more important is instituting citywide community policing across the city of Springfield. When I first announced, I sat down with some rank and file officers, and I said, you know, I know the community side of it, but I'm not a police officer. Tell me what it is that you need to do your job and make our city safer. And they expressed to me the fact that they feel they're understaffed, they feel that they're running from 911 call to 911 call across the city, and that they need to have a larger force on hand, similar to what we had in the 90s, in order to bring our city to a safer place. I understand, of course, that hiring more police officers means that we're going to have to spend some money, but there are certain investments that we can't afford not to make, and I think that community policing is one of those.
Thank you. Mr. Pooler.
As far as the crime here in Springfield, I think that what we do need, as Jesse has said, is we need more community policing. I'm a firm believer that in every one of our crime-ridden neighborhoods here in Springfield, there is a blighted city-owned building. I truly believe that we have the technology. We have Putnam High School students that would definitely enjoy getting off of campus, going over, restoring these buildings and creating police substations. With these police substations, you can bring people out that are afraid to talk to people. You can bring the children out. Some of these children, it's very hard to bring them back, but what we have a problem with is that none of the young kids are raised any longer to believe that the police are there to help them. And we have to rekindle and refocus our young youths that the police are there for you. They're there to help you, that you can go to them with any problem that you have, and they are there for you. To see a police officer walk down through one of these crime-ridden neighborhoods and shake hands with the 5 and the 6 and the 7-year-old children that are out there and get them away from the drug dealers and get them away from these other crime people. But what we need is we need the police force to be in there. This is what was established in Holyoke. This is what we need established here. We need a strong fist in these neighborhoods. We don't need our police cruisers driving up and down the neighborhoods. We don't need them walking once a day. We need substations in these crime-ridden neighborhoods, and we need it. The time has passed. I know for a fact that Putnam would be more than happy to bring their children in to help them revamp these blighted buildings that we tear down and we leave as parks for people just to hang out in.
Thank you. Mr. Rook.
In the is my mic on? Hello? In the 1990s, under Mike Albano, there was a Clinton federal grant that was available, and it allowed Springfield to hire 100 additional police officers, and we took advantage of the grant. When the grant ran out, it cost the city of Springfield $6 million a year to fund those positions. What do you think the crime dropped by in Springfield when we had 100 additional police officers at $6 million a year? It was 2%. So additional police officers don't necessarily equate to a lower crime rate. I think what we have to do in the city, and what we have done, and I'm happy to, I guess, admit here that one of the initiatives I was responsible for were the shot spotters that are located in the city of Springfield. Those reduced the response time for a cruiser from 4 minutes to about 90 seconds. A lot of times when they arrive on the scene, the person that's fired the gun or is involved with the gun shooting is still on the scene. The other initiative that I helped initiate was the video camera surveillance that we have downtown, and we've tried to expand that even further. Technology is the future of crime fighting, as well as trying to improve the unemployment rate, the low education rate that we have in Springfield, and a lot of the other social issues that have to be addressed. If we can work on all of those collectively, along with using new technology, I think you'll start to see data-driven deployment, which means if they know there's a trouble spot, then they deploy the police officers. Until we start to interrupt the business trade of drug dealing and make it uncomfortable for drug dealers to operate in Springfield, they're going to continue to be here. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. The police department's budget is $40 million. With the next police class coming out of the graduates, we'll be up to over 400 police officers in the city of Springfield. That doesn't go far enough. If you look at statistics, what has crime to go down is when the community feels better about police officers and they work together. Then you don't need text or tip. I've been walking these streets the last several weeks, Old Hill Neighborhood Council with Barbara Gresham, the Six Corners neighborhood with Reverend Pastor Williams, J.C. Williams. Tonight we did over here with Craig Gibbons. We talked to hundreds and hundreds of residents. I want to commend Commissioner Barberis for getting out of his office, getting in and meeting the people on a proactive measure. That's what it's going to take. We know there's a wall between the police department and the community. That wall really exists. And that's for real. Until we're all on the same page, we'll never be able to solve problems. Community residents solve crime, not police officers. So I'm just so happy. I kind of understand it. We'll continue to walk in different neighborhoods, whether it's the North End, Hungry Hill, weekend and week, so he can meet residents, so they can talk to our police commissioner. If you look at statistics throughout the country where crime has gone down, it's gone down where community initiatives are working with the police officer. Not text a tip so much, but in the streets where they get good feelings about the police officers and the police officers get good feelings about the community. They don't see him after there's been some murder or some robbery. They see him in being a proactive measure. So I think that is one to take. We'll have plenty of police on the street, as Councilman Rook said. Thank you.
Well, I think the crime in the city of Springfield is not a problem that can be solved just by the police department. Some of the answers today have referred to it. It really is a larger community issue. But I think we are very fortunate that we have, heading up the police department now, in a very strong leadership role, Commissioner Barbieri. I heard Commissioner Barbieri speak in this auditorium in the fall about how he perceived the city of Springfield and his openness to work with other groups. Council Williams has said he's been going out with him on neighborhood watches. So we have somebody who's in charge that is very committed to our community, wants to see more police in the community. Visibility of the police is very, very important, but he can't do it alone. It takes families, it takes parents, it takes churches, it takes pastors. Everyone has to work to come together to eradicate this perception that Springfield is just about crime when there are so many good things going on. One of the best things, and I did it, and I'm not sure if anyone else in the audience did, is I went to the Citizen Police Academy. Has anybody gone to the Citizen Police Academy? It's really a great way to get to know what the police department does and how you can help it. There's some wonderful projects in the city of Springfield. The Neighborhood Crime Watches, C3 Initiative, Coffee with a Cop, all these things that are going on right now that we all can be part of that help to form a bond with the police and the community, because a lot of this is about relationships.
Thank you. Tom, to you.
Thank you, Walter. I think there's little doubt that the perception of crime in Springfield, the perception that the city is unsafe, is having a huge impact, and it affects our ability to attract businesses to the city, so that affects all of us. So I think the commissioner's idea of implementing C3 initiative across the city, starting in the north end, which had a tremendous effect in reducing crime in the north end, the numbers are staggering. He looked at what the other areas across the city that need it most, and looked at the south end and Mason Square as being those areas. And it's going to have an effect. It's not going to have a tremendous effect on a daily basis. Time it will. It's modeled after community policing. The commissioner and the staff understand that getting out of the car and having real relationships with people is how you affect crime, not just driving by, as it has been mentioned, but also, if I could expound on Councilor Rook's statement that technology is a big piece of this. It is. I've sat in command meetings, staff meetings with the commissioner. If you look on a board in his office, a big television screen, it tells you the hot spots in the city. And based on that information, he uses that to deploy officers across the city. So those are the kinds of things that we have to do now to get ahead of what, because the perception of crime in the city that it's unsafe is real. And we need to address that because it affects all of us.
Mr. Donnelly.
So I do believe in community policing. I also believe in opening up substations. I believe the best place for substations would be the local parks. Most of them already have a structure there that could be used. And Springfield's not safe. It's an unsafe city for the most part, and we need to actually get more police officers in there on the street and get people to actually open up to them. Right now, so many people are afraid to talk to a cop because they have no idea what the cop wants. So I look at it this way too, to get more cops on the street. What we should do is go to the local colleges and recruit criminal justice majors and such like that, and actually make them special police officers with police powers and let them get college credits. I'm done.
Very good. Justin.
I actually agree with Tom from a perception standpoint. I think we need to start changing the dialogue. Oftentimes we talk about what is negative in this city, and not too often do we talk about all of the positive things that are happening. I mean, even last year, in 2014, when we had 14 homicides, which was the lowest in a decade, the perception was that Springfield wasn't safe and that violent crime was on the rise, and the reality was that just wasn't the case. And when it comes to homicides, we've had, on average, the same amount of homicides over the last years, roughly between 14 and 18 homicides. I think if we really want to get to solving the issue of public safety, we need to get at the root cause. We need to take a proactive approach as opposed to a reactive approach, which is typically what occurs when it comes to police officers. I think we really need to make a bold statement and make a serious investment in our youth. I think that's something that we haven't done in the past, and it's something that we need to do. Buddy mentions that we have a $41 million police budget. Just imagine what we could do with that $41 million if we started actually thinking about our youth. Just imagine if we invested some of that money in the pre-K programs. Just imagine if we invested that money in the interventions and ensuring our kids were reading at grade level by age 3. The data is very clear. When you're not reading at grade level, the dropout rate increases. Kids revert to crime. Kids are much more likely to be incarcerated. Kids are much more likely to be impoverished. All of these factors cause for the police to get involved after the fact. At some point in time, we need to start taking a proactive approach.
Okay, question 3 is in regards to the biomass incinerator. And Mr. Donnelly, you will start, and we will again continue this way. Biomass incinerator that developers wanted to build in a residential area of the city off Page Boulevard. This was, again, back in 2008, the city granted a special permit to the developer to build the incinerator. In 2011, the city council voted to revoke the special permit. The developer tried to go with the project, claiming that they did not need a permit. The Zoning Board of Appeals upheld the City Council's decision, ruling that the developer did need a permit to build the incinerator. Since then, court battles between the developer and the city have continued for several years. Legal issues aside, do you believe the biomass project is a good project for the city of Springfield?
I actually do not believe it's a good idea because I, for one, am an asthmatic, and you start polluting air more and more and more, and all of a sudden you're going to get more and more asthmatics and other people with lung and respiratory ailments. We don't need that, especially not in a residential area where it's located. It makes no sense that you'd actually want or put residential area or in a city like Springfield. I'm finished.
Thank you. Justin.
I'll be real short. I'm not in favor of the biomass. I've never been in favor of the biomass. I actually have been on the side of revoking the biomass's permit. I supported the appeal. I supported us, the city council, taking it up to the Supreme Court. Though our chances might not, might be far-fetched, I'm in favor of finishing the game, and hopefully we can get this company to not have a home in our city.
Great. Thank you. Mr. Letterman.
I've stood opposed to the biomass incinerator proposal since 2009. As a member of the McKnight Neighborhood Council, I spearheaded the coalition Stop Toxic Incineration in Springfield, which stood opposed to the incinerator and advocated for the revocation of the incinerator's permit. We continue to fight the incinerator because we know that spewing nearly 100 tons of carbon monoxide into the air in the city of Springfield is wrong. And I believe also that we should hold accountable the individuals who voted for this permit to begin with. Several of them are standing on stage today, including City Council President Bud Williams at the time, who presided over the hearing, City Councilor Cary Walsh, and City Councilor Tim Rook, who voted for this permit. Several of them also voted against revoking the permit when it came before them again. And so I think it's important to review the history behind this. This was passed in a single hearing in 2008. A single hearing was passed to spew 100 tons of carbon monoxide into the air, 144 truckloads of wood every day coming up and down Page Boulevard. And we know the impacts that it's going to have, and that's why the Massachusetts Medical Society is opposed to it, that's why the Pioneer Valley Asthma Coalition is opposed to it, why the majority of Springfield city councilors are opposed to it now in the majority of Springfield's neighborhoods. We need to move forward, we need to continue to fight this incinerator, because health and well-being of our residents, our children, and our seniors are more important than anything.
Thank you. Mr. Pooler.
I actually think Jesse looked at my notes. Sorry, Jesse, I had to say that. I think there are a couple underlying issues here that need to be addressed, and I know that there's legal issues and everything. We're not asked that. That's not part of the question. I think one of the biggest questions here is that the residents spoken against this, and we have too many politicians in that building downtown. Too many politicians. They forget that they are voted in by the people. When the people speak, we need to listen to them. That's all, especially when it comes to a health issue such as this here. We also have to realize that we need to start holding people accountable, checks and balances. We vote these people in, and then they spearhead these things that go straight through, as Jesse has said, one vote. And now they're trying to backtrack. Now they don't want it. The problem is it may be too late. So when you cast that ballot this year, think about what you're voting in. Start voting in some real people that are going to deal with some real issues. Those are the things that we need to do. We don't hold our politicians in check enough. They don't represent the people of Springfield enough. And the worst part is nobody's going to tell you this but me. I'm going to be honest with you. This is who I am. I'm going to tell you how it is, whether you like it or not. But in the end of the day, I'm not going to be conformed. I'm not going to be that silly putty that you can make a shape out of and get a vote out of or pass something through council. I will stand up for what the people want, and the people have spoken. It's no different than the alcohol treatment center in the North End that I am thoroughly against because the people are against it as well.
Thank you. Brooke.
Thank you, Walter. I voted for the biomass project as a city councilor. One of the responsibilities you have as a city councilor is land use. We don't regulate air quality. If a business is zoned properly for the site that they're petitioning, the responsibility of the city council is either to vote for it or to vote against it. The documents that were provided and the evidence that was submitted to us by the Department of Public Health clearly showed that any of the clean wood that was going to be burned at that facility equated to about 5 wood-burning stoves. The technology that they're using is state-of-the-art, and it's, I believe it was copied from a European facility. So the answer is, do you vote for it because it's legally the correct thing to do, or do you vote against it because 60 people or 100 people show up and they don't want it? And that's the balance of elected officials. I voted for it because I thought it was a good project. It was a legal project, and the amount of air quality effect it was going to have in Springfield and in the Pioneer Valley was.
Thank you.
Thank you. I wish Mr. Pooler and Mr. Letterman would get their facts straight once and for all. First of all, that project did not need city councilable. Didn't need it. Every court has said it every step of the way. The only way that it came before the city council was that the East Springfield Civic Association supported it in 2008. There was no vote on this, Mr. Pooler. I don't know what you're talking about. There was no vote on this. They supported it. The planning board supported it. It came before us. And the only reason why it came before us in the manner in which it did, Dave Panagor, who was the economic czar at the time, said, hey, they legally can build it. You cannot stop them. We didn't have the ability to stop them. Let's set the record straight. It was a special permit. They put it in that language so the community could benefit out of it. East Springfield is going to get X dollars. They're going to do sidewalks. They're going to go tree planting. They're going to get the jobs. That's the record. In each and every proceeding, each and every step of every single court has said the same thing. This body had no legal. It doesn't matter if we said yes or no. It's upheld in the court. EPA, the environmental folks in Massachusetts have said it's okay. As Councilor Rook has said, 5 wood-burning stoves. So the record is this body would not have stopped it. We didn't have to vote on it. They wanted to get some benefits out of the package. That's exactly what happened.
Mischaracterization.
Thank you. Catering, to you.
Yes, when the issue came before us on the Springfield City Council, there was little or no opposition to this project. As a matter of fact, it was strongly supported by all our unions. It now has become a legal issue, and the issue here is revocation. In order to revocate a license for a business, there are some very serious parameters that have to be met, and they were not met as far as the biomass was concerned in order to revoke the license. This is what I think has been going on in the courts and why, with the challenge to the biomass, it has not been successful because the legal parameters were not met. And I have to wait and see what develops.
Thank you. Tom.
Thank you, Walter. I voted against biomass every step of the way, and I supported the appeal, and I will continue to support the appeal. But I have to be honest. I struggled with that decision because I knew that there were jobs attached to this project that would have put many people in the area to work. But as I listened to the experts who came to address the council on many different occasions and considered the health impacts, as my friend Brendon told you earlier, he's an asthmatic, and I am myself. And I know that living in the valley here creates particular problems for asthmatics. I couldn't, in good conscience, support the project. So probably lost some friends along the way, and our friends in labor who wanted that project so badly. But I think it was the right thing to do.
Thank you. Okay, we're going to move to the candidate exchange portion. Each candidate will have the opportunity to ask any other candidate a question. That candidate will have 60 seconds to respond. You, as the asker, will have 30 seconds to rebut. And the person you asked will have 30 seconds to rebut that. So we'll just go right in order. So, Tom, you can start us off.
Sure. I would ask Ken Pooler. Ken, as you stated earlier in your intro, you had many years of service to the city and many in leadership role within that union, and certainly had many great good dealings with you at that time. How do you think that experience will help you going forward as a member of the council?
Over the 17 years of being president of the DPW union, I always ran, and I wasn't opposed by anybody else. I negotiated contracts with 3 different mayors over that time. I arbitrated cases in Boston. I oversaw management and make sure that civil service rights, laws and rights were followed. So based on that there, and the fact that I represented the people for that long, I had 354 members, and I took a lot of pride. I didn't sell myself out to anybody. I walked into the management's office. I held them accountable to contracts. I held the civil service laws accountable in Boston. And I know that I can continue to support and to represent the city of Springfield and their residents.
Great, Tom, 30?
No,
Any response?
I appreciate the answer.
All set. Ken, any response? You're good? You have 30 seconds.
Thank you, Tom.
Very good. Jeff?
Yes, mine is to Councilor Ash as the chairman of the Public Safety Committee. I'm just wondering, how can someone be suitable to own and carry a firearm in the city of Springfield, Massachusetts, but not be suitable to have a hawker peddler's permit to sell a book that they wrote exposing corruption in the city?
Well, I guess the council has to attack issues that it has an actual impact on, and when the police and the residents of the city came to me and the council and said we need help on this issue, people are getting dropped off in droves and busloads in our neighborhoods, knocking on our residents' doors, asking our residents, particularly our elderly, for their personal information, and using that information in nefarious ways. And we had to take some action, and we did. And I led that fight, and I'm proud of the work that we did and the ordinance that was put forth. Really, gun violence, I certainly don't disagree with you. If someone shouldn't be carrying around a weapon, then they shouldn't, and I certainly support that. Who wouldn't? To the extent that we make that decision, we don't. The police commissioner is the one that's responsible for giving out licenses. But if I thought that he was not doing his job in that respect, I certainly would let it be known.
Jeff, you have 30 to respond.
Yes. I'm actually a Massachusetts Class A holder issued by they've refused to issue me a hawker peddler's permit in order to sell a book that exposes corruption in the city of Springfield. That's what my question was. And also, I did send a certified notarized letter to Barberry inquiring about this same issue, which, by being the chairman of the public safety, whatever, I would believe that Mr. Ash would have been aware of that.
You have 30.
I'm sorry, I certainly received your letter. I'd be glad to address it with you if you would like. I certainly can tell you that ordinance wasn't designed to keep you from selling your book, and I hope it hasn't had a negative effect on that. But again, in all seriousness, I'd be glad to discuss you privately.
Very good. Thank you. Justin?
Yes, the question is for Jesse. Jesse, what do you think is the most pressing issue facing this city? And if elected to the Springfield City Council, how would you address it?
Justin, thank you very much for the question. I would say, again, as we've made our way across Springfield, me and my team knocking on doors, talking with folks, I think that the 2 most pressing issues are public safety and public education. We've talked about it here today, but I think it bears repeating. You know, we need to have our schools at a place where people are confident staying in the city and sending their kids to our schools. Unfortunately, when we knock on doors in Springfield, especially in neighborhoods like McKnight and East Forest Park, 16 acres everywhere, people are telling us that they want to sell their homes and they want to move to the suburbs. We're meeting young families who have bought beautiful homes they couldn't afford in the suburbs, but they tell us our 5-year plan, when our baby, it's time for him to go to school, we're going to move out of the city. And so I think that that's an issue that we need to address very directly. And while the City Council plays no direct role in the public education system as we have an elected school committee, I think that the opportunity for us to come together around smart and innovative policy to support our administrators, support our teachers, support our families and our students, and improve our school system.
Thank you. Justin, any rebuttal?
No rebuttal. Jesse can have more time if he'd like.
Great. Jesse's got 30 to respond to your 9.
Absolutely. You know, I think another really pressing issue is the biomass incinerator because it's a pending threat, and I'd like to take the probably 25 seconds that I have left to correct some mischaracterizations that were made. First of all, with all due respect to Councilor Rowe, he found this in 2008. They weren't proposing to burn Greenwood. They were proposing to burn construction and demolition debris. So I don't think he could have been presented with facts around clean wood, since that was not the fuel source that was presented in 2008. Secondly, the court rulings that have made have been in regards to the revocation of the permit under Greenwood, not under the permit that they voted on when construction and demolition debris was the fuel source. And so I think it's very important to get our facts straight on what they voted on in 2008.
Well, you now have 60 seconds to ask someone a question. Or they have 60 seconds to respond. It's your question.
I will be posing my question to Councilor Williams. Councilor Williams, despite the fact that Springfield's air quality has continued to be rated among the worst in the Commonwealth of Massachusetts, you have continued to support the biomass incinerator on Page Boulevard, while at the same time over the last several years accepting more than $5,000 in campaign contributions from the developers and their families. My question is beyond legal reasoning, what is your reason for supporting the biomass incinerator as a project in your conscience?
You know, I wish you would end this, Letterman, because you've been scolded several times. The point of view scolded you for misrepresentation of the facts. I have $5,000 from the Callahan family over 20 years. I don't think that comes out to $500 a year. The Callahan family is a very good fan of the city of Springfield. I go back with the dad. I know the Callahan family very well. They've done a lot of great projects in the city of Springfield. And my vote is not for sale. And again, I'll repeat and reiterate it. And I hope you don't continue down this road. You won't get elected on the back of Bud Williams. Never will and never has been. Last time this body voted on something the planning board recommended, East Springfield community recommended it, the city recommended it, it was a legal vote. And how did we vote on this? As I said, Dave Panagore put together a package so the city could get benefits out of it. The court has spoken. I worked in the court system for many years.
30 after.
And I agree with the court system. When something's in court, let the court figure it out.
Thank you. You'll get 30 again after. Jesse, you have 30 to rebut.
Councilor Williams, with all due respect, you did not receive the $5,000, which I am referring to over a 20-year period. Anybody in this audience can log on to ocpf.us, put in a start date of January 1st, 2008, and type in Callahan and see the money that came to you over a 5-year period in the amount of over $5,000, not just from the owner of PRE, David Callahan, but from his brother, from his sister, from his entire family, none of whom reside in the city of Springfield. The truth of the matter is whether the court says it is wrong or not, the East Springfield Neighborhood Council has since changed their vote on it. Every neighborhood council in the city has expressed, almost every neighborhood council has expressed opposition, and so have your colleagues. So why do you continue to support the project, Bud?
30. Back to you, Bud. You have 30.
As I said, you've been scolded many times, and I'm sure you'll get scolded again. May I finish? May I finish?
Yes,
I've
please
been
finish.
respectful. May I answer the question? Thank you. Give me a chance, I will. Thank you. You've been scolded many times over the same issue, riding on the back of Bud Williams. It's not going to work tonight. It's not going to work tomorrow. It ain't going to work in the future. If I were you, I'd find someone else to tussle with, because if you tussle with me, I'll tussle with you. If you want to get it on, we get it on. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Pooler.
My question would be to Cary Walsh. And earlier we were asked about crime and what we would do to curb crime here in the city. All you basically stated were things that are already in effect in the city, and you totally avoided the answer or the question. And I think the question that I would like to know is, what are your plans moving forward if you're going to be elected to help lower the crime rate here in the city of Springfield?
Well, crime and the police department, and one of the responsibilities of the Springfield City Council that we do and we do diligently is to fully fund the police department and make sure that they are up to date with manpower and technology as best as we can. Being supportive of the Springfield Police Department, working in neighborhoods, going out, talking to neighbors, being on crime watches, being visible, visiting the schools, having everyone work together. You need a spirit of cooperation to get these things done. I've always supported the police to the best of my ability because I think it's very important for our city. We have to work as a team. And I think we're very fortunate in Springfield that we have a really strong public safety team. The sheriff, the police chief, the district attorney, and the city council and mayor, they all work together as a team with the same goal of reducing crime. You know, city council can't do everything, but we can make sure through the budget process that we do the best we can to make sure that the citizens are protected, and I will continue to do that.
Thank you. Ken, you have 30 to respond.
Well, I guess I didn't really need to ask you that question because you gave the same answer the first time that you were asked. And based on what you just said, nobody disagrees with how good of a job the police department is doing in the city of Springfield. But what I think the public needs to know is, if elected, what are we going to do? We as officials, whether we can implement or pass laws to get the crime down. The question is you're an elected official at this present moment. What have you done to bring the crime rate down in Springfield? You answered questions that are things that you didn't implement that the city council needs to work on. And we know the police department is doing what they have to. What can you do as a city councilor if reelected?
The council doesn't always implement, but it's very important that they support what's going on. And I forgot to mention another initiative that has been very, very successful, and those are the sector meetings. And I'd like to see those continue.
Thank you. Mr. Rook, it's your turn.
My question will go to Ken Pooler, who I've known for some time, and he comes down to the city council meetings quite often, is an outspoken supporter of many issues, and would ask him, if and when you're elected to the city council, what would be your two highest priorities if you had an unlimited budget?
I definitely would not purchase the Picnelli building on the street. I can tell you that right now. Based on what I had said earlier, obviously, if I sit up here and I don't tell you that crime is one of the most important issues that we face here in Springfield, I would probably receive one vote, and that would be my own. But what I do think is that, based on what I said earlier, substations, I think, is a very huge part of bringing down the crime rate here in the city of Springfield. I also believe that we need to take a look at drug awareness here in the city. Our teens are breaking legs, breaking arms in high school sports, and then they're going to the doctors, they're getting prescribed prescription pills, Oxycontins, and then what happens, that prescription runs out, we're left with addicted teenagers to pain medication. The only place they can find answers to curb their appetite is going out onto the streets. Going out onto the street leads to more crime. So I would definitely say that crime in substations is definitely a huge concern of mine, and I think that should be taken care of. And I also believe that we need better drug awareness in our schools.
Thank you. Tim, you have 30 seconds for an answer or comment.
I would say thank you, and I hope you beat everybody except me.
You have my vote, Tim.
All right, very good. Bud, to you.
Mr. Letterman, you tout that you've gone through the city, you've walked the city. First of all, tell me what the city budget is, and then tell me what the police department budget is, and at the same time, what the school committee budget is, and what you plan to do to increase those budgets.
Thank you for the question, Councilor Williams. The city budget is approximately $594 million. About $300 million of that is the school department budget. A lot of that comes from Chapter 70 state funds. Our residential tax rate is $19.67 approximately, as I remember it. But what I would say is, we have walked the streets in Springfield quite a bit, and we've talked with a lot of folks. One of the times that we walked the streets was recently with you twice in Six Corners and in Old Hill. One of the issues that I had was that as we walked through those neighborhoods, we didn't talk enough with residents. We showed the flag, definitely, and we got a sense for the commissioner and for ourselves of what the neighborhoods looked like, but I really felt that we needed more outreach into the neighborhoods. We needed to stop and hand out our business cards, I did, to residents and assure them that we would be there to address any quality of life issues that they needed. That's the same thing we need in our police department, also from our elected officials, is community engagement. Not just lip service to community engagement, but true community engagement.
Thank you. You have 30 to respond.
You left out the police department, which is $40 million, and I've engaged this community all my life, whether it's on the streets with kids out of the Dunbar, MLK Community Center, dealing with my lodge, dealing with my church, Mount Zion, which is the corner of Princeton and Bay, and I'm very proud of my record. If you think that's a joke, you're walking around, I haven't seen, that's the first time I've ever seen you in the Old Hill neighborhood, and I didn't see you tonight. If you're so committed to people, and the sheriff and the police department are trying to do a job. Don't criticize good work. If you can't understand it, leave it alone. Because I don't think the police department would be very happy for you casting aspersions on what they're trying to do. It's a tough job.
Thank you. Jesse, you have 30 to wrap up.
Well, I was very proud to begin my campaign with a tour of neighborhood councils. One of the neighborhood councils that we did visit was Old Hill, and I'm proud to have been a resident of Mason Square and continue to be a resident of Mason Square my entire life. I believe that we need elected officials in this city who are committed to their residents and to their constituents, who are a city council that they can count on, who is accessible. That's why if you look at the back of the literature we've handed out, I put my cell phone number on the back of every piece of literature. I hand my cell phone number to every voter I talk to ensure they can contact me. And Councilor Williams, with all due respect, no one is questioning your dedication to this city. I am running for one of 5 at-large seats on the Springfield City Council because I love the city that I was born and raised in. I'm not running against Bud Williams. I am running for Springfield.
Thank you. Okay, that wraps up. Thank you all, candidates, for those 2 sections. We'll bring back Keyshawn Dodds for the next 2. Thank you.
Do I get to ask a question?
Oh, I'm sorry. I'm sorry, Cary.
That's
you
okay.
do.
I came in late.
You
so
get to choose. It was. I'm sorry.
Yes. Okay. Well, we've had a lot of discussion about crime, so I'm going to ask Councilor Williams. I remember walks in this neighborhood a long time ago. What is the reaction of people when they see you? Do they come out and join you? Do they come out and reach out to Commissioner Barberi? What's the impact?
First, I want to thank Jesse Letterman for showing up to the walks. I really want to. Really, I think I know Jesse all his life. It's not a personal thing. He's dedicated to the city like I am, and he's doing his thing. The feeling and the response has been overwhelming. People coming out of the houses, and Jesse had testified to this, and actually start walking with us. Folks, we have a lot of work to do with the police department, and we can't have a healthy city, a safe city, until the residents of every single neighborhood in this city feel like they're part of the city, feel like the police department works for them. There's a wall in these communities with the police department. There's been a lot of bad things that have happened to folks in this community all over the city. It makes it good for folks to go out and see your police commissioner actually doing the old-fashioned way walking. Many people laugh at that. It's corny. I know it doesn't sound good, but I'll tell you one thing, it works. And my ultimate is when people come out and say, hey, thank you. Yes, thank you. It makes you feel good.
Thank you.
And you might not think it's serious, but crime affects poor people. People here are not poor. It's probably well-to-do, live in great neighborhoods. But people who are affected by crime, it affects poor people. That's what we got to understand.
Thank you. Cary.
Yes.
You have 30 to comment or rebut, if you wish.
I think this goes to my point that I made earlier, that I think the crime, the perception of crime, and the issues in Springfield has to be a community event. We all need to come together and work together to solve it. Thank you.
Awesome. Bud, you still 30 to rebut or comment?
Now, again, I just want to reiterate that we'll continue to walk, we'll continue to garnish the ministers, we'll continue to garnish the neighborhood groups, all the fraternities and the sororities. We're going to combat, we're going to work together. If you read the latest issue in the Point of View, there was a scathing editorial on all of us as leaders within this community. We all have to start working together. At the end of the day, it's the citizens that suffer. All of us, we have different approaches, we believe in different things, we have different points of view. But you know what? As the king used to say, either you hang together or you hang separately, but you're going to hang.
Thank you. Okay, now I want to thank everybody for those two sections and return it back to Keyshawn.
I just want to recognize Mike Fenton for being in the house tonight. Thank you, City Councilman Fenton. I hope everybody can take a deep breath and just let you know I do sensitivity training for anyone that needs it. Tom, I know you're a little heated over there, so calm a little bit. But no, this is a very spirited event. I want to welcome up Rebecca Gray again. We have the fourth part of the session. We have two more sessions. It's just our fourth part of the screen questions from the audience and our closing statements. Our first section that we have, our question per candidate, and it's 90 seconds each. We're going to kind of speed this up, so it's going to be 90 seconds, but we're going to try to get two questions, one question for two candidates, and we're going to move on to the next part so we can get it. This part is a lot of, and the audience has participated, and so we do have questions, and Rebecca Gray does have the first question.
Thank you, Keyshawn. I'm going to have Tom Ash address this question first, and this is from the audience. As a homeless woman in the city, I see constantly the lack of resources for the city's homeless and the adverse effect that it has on the city at large. How do you propose to address homelessness in the city?
Thank you for the question. It certainly is an issue that we see not improving, in fact declining. Our numbers of homeless residents is going up. In fact, across the country, mental health is just an issue that we struggle as a society to get our arms around. And it's many horrific stories, and you see and talk to people who are living on the streets now, and it's depressing because it's not so far for many of us. One check away from being in the exact same predicament. So it's a struggle. It requires the city to put forth much more resources than it has, identifying areas where we can help best, but particularly around the areas of mental health and how we attack that is key. There's a new facility going up in the South End. Unfortunately, that will be filled probably immediately. So it's a difficult issue. There's not one blanket answer that's going to help, but it's a question that as a society, I think we have to determine what avenues best help this group of unfortunate individuals.
All right. Thank you. Getting my questions back is 3 minutes per session. Trying to think is 30 seconds. I'm sorry. On my sheet, I have typos too, so it's 90 seconds, so it's 30 seconds per candidate. It's going to be rapid fire. I do have this question, and it's going to be for Justin Hurst and also Ken Pooler to answer this question. To anyone, so it's these two candidates, Justin first. What would you propose the city council do to facilitate low-income homeowners in maintaining and keeping their homes in the city? So Justin first.
Well, I would first definitely have them advocate to the city council and speak out and let us know what are the issues that are facing them. And at the same time, I would definitely direct them to their legislatures. I think it's critical that not only does the city council serve as an advocate for them, but they also are able to advocate themselves so that we can in turn identify funding at the state level to rectify this issue.
Thank you. Ken?
My hearing is not that good. If I can
read the question again, not a problem.
I appreciate that. Thank you.
So what would you propose the council do to facilitate low-income homeowners in maintaining and keeping their homes in the city?
Well, first of all, I think we as a city, we need to recognize and identify that this is a problem here. And at this level, I believe there is some funding that we can come up with. We have no problem putting people up in hotels. We have no problem putting people up all over the state and bringing people into our city. I think what we need to do is go to the state level and say to them, enough is enough. What we need support here in Springfield. We don't need to put people up in hotels. We need to take care of the low income people here. And I also believe that we need to find ways of educating them so they don't have these problems reoccurring in their houses.
Thank you, Ken. Yep.
And our next question, which will be for Jesse Letterman, is a question on taxing and billboards in the city. You are probably aware that there is a 10 taxpayer suit against the city assessor's office, continued undervaluation of billboards, cell towers, and cell antenna sites. If the lawsuit is successful, it will bring another $2 million into the city coffers. What is your position in regards to that lawsuit?
Absolutely. Well, I think many of us are familiar with the 10 citizen lawsuit against the billboard companies, or against the assessor's office against the underassessment of billboards. And I know as a member of the neighborhood council, we met many times with community activists who were passionate about this issue. I think what's really important as elected officials to recognize is that we need to be fair. And if the law says that something should be taxed at a certain rate, it should be taxed at that rate. If the lawsuit is successful and the assessments are raised, then we're going to see that revenue come in, and we need to ensure that we direct that revenue to public safety and to publication.
Thank you, Jesse. This question is for Cary Walsh. The City Council has been considering a plan to change their term from 2 two-year term to 4 years. Do you support this proposal, and what do you think are the benefits or drawbacks of this change?
Yes, I do support this proposal. I am one of the co-sponsors of the initiative to put it on the ballot as a non-binding question. I came to this conclusion when and all of you know it, that our voter turnout has really been pathetic. I mean, the last election, only 7% of the registered voters came out to vote. So I think that there's a cost factor, but more important, there's a factor that it should be uniform. The city council is 2 years, the mayor is 4 years, the school committee is 4 years. I think if you have everybody on the ballot at the same time, you're going to have a lot more voter participation. I think it's a lot better for the city to have that when you have strong...
Thank you, sorry. Thank you.
I got actually cut off.
We have the technology.
You must not have liked my
All right.
This next question is for Jeff Donnelly. Many of the communities that surround Springfield have developed hiking, biking trails on abandoned rail lines in their city and town. These trails provide important activities for residents and can increase the value of adjacent property and support some local businesses. Congressman Neal was a key figure in obtaining funds for the East Long Meadow Trail, and he has pledged to help obtain funding for a proposed hiking trail in the McKnight neighborhood on the abandoned rail line that runs through the city. Federal and state funds are available for building this kind of trail, and Springfield has never applied for these funds. How would you go about supporting the development of this trail?
I'm actually kind of surprised that Springfield's never tried to go after the funds before anyways, because if you get down to it, these trails are, something good for the environment, good for the community. I'd actually do everything I do to actually get these funds for these trails.
Thank you. Thank you. And the last question that we have is for Bud Williams. In 2004, City Council elections campaign finance was an issue that was raised around the controversial pawnbrokers ordinance and the donations made by pawnbrokers to political candidates to support their interests. In this election, the issue has surfaced again around the biomass developers' contributions to candidates' war chests. What is your position on accepting donations from businesses and individuals who have projects and interests involving city council approval and the potential conflicts of interest that accepting these contributions create?
Is that for all projects? I think you need to go through everybody's financial statement. I stand by my record. I've addressed that. My vote is not failed. I've been around a long time. I have integrity. I have honesty, and I don't mind. I can't help it because people donate money to me. Some people have a hard time raising money. I don't have a hard time raising money. And I stand by my vote. I voted against many projects, and I voted for many projects. And I've spoken to that, and I'll stand on my record.
Thank you, Bud. He cut my mic off. That was good. Thank you, everyone, for your comments coming to this, and I applaud every one of them. Did everyone answer that I forget anyone catering? No, I didn't. Not everybody had an answer. Thank you. Just want to make sure. But now we're going to move into our closing statements. We're nearing the end of our debate for our at-large 2015 City Council debate. So we're going to start from my immediate left to Cary Walsh and work my way down to Tom Ash. So you have, each candidate has 2 minutes, and if you do not stop, you will be off. But we want to make sure that you guys have highlighted. We really thank you guys for coming. And Cary Walsh, you have the floor.
Well, thank you, and thank you again for hosting this debate and giving us an opportunity to reach out to the voters and talk about our record and what we've done. I've been on the City Council for 6 terms, and during that time, I've been able to support many important projects for the city of Springfield. You'd be interested to know that through our efforts, I have been able to advocate for domestic violence coordinator on the Springfield Police Department. Very proud of my work as the chair of the Springfield Women's Commission. The Springfield Women's Commission was a standing committee, but during those years of the control board, lost it. I brought it back, and through that effort, I have been able to reach out to women and young girls in our community and provide role models, which I think is a very important thing to do. I'm very interested in preserving our small businesses. I created a neighborhood business development committee. We reach out to all the small businesses in the city, have had 2 workshops this year, one in the North End, another in Indian Orchard, and a third coming up in Forest Park to help people. I think, the City Council role, a lot of it is about listening and helping people, to reach out to people who are in business, who are interested in business, know about all the red tape in the city of Springfield. I remain committed to the city, to serving our seniors. I have a very strong affiliation with veterans who are a military family. Anything that comes before us that can support our veterans, I'm 100% for it. I have reached out to businesses, have helped to bring some small businesses here, and to provide vitality for the Springfield City Council. I have thoroughly enjoyed my work on the council. I have said many times that public service is a very honorable profession. I felt that way when I started, I feel that way now, and it has been a privilege to serve you, and I would appreciate the opportunity to serve again, because it's a very exciting time in the city of Springfield. Did it go off again?
Thank you, Cary. Yes, you can. Hold on. Please turn the mic back on.
We're talking about Springfield and Springfield being in the forefront. I received an email today from a cousin in Baltimore whose son was attending a conference in San Francisco about rail. That's another thing I support, is high-speed rail and rail. But the topic of conversation was Springfield, Massachusetts, because we are now the headquarters of Chang Chung. So we now are being talked on a national level. That's going to bring businesses here, and it's very exciting for the city of Springfield. And thank you for not cutting me off.
Thank you, Cary.
First of all, I want to thank all candidates, and I really, really mean that, for putting their on the line. It's a tale of 2 cities. It's the best of times and the worst of times, depending on who you talk to in the city of Springfield. We have billions and billions of dollars of infrastructure, of development. But if you go on the North End and talk to people, go on Mason Square, go on 6 Corners, go on Indian Orchard, they don't feel part of the Springfield dream. It's up to each and every one of us, all candidates and all community people, to ensure those who feel left out and locked out get an opportunity. I'm a fighter for the people. I'm a fighter for the little guy, fighter for community people. I'm one of 10 kids. I know what it means to be poor. I know what it means to have the pebble in your. I understand that. But until we come out as one city, we're one city. But if you talk to residents, they'll say, where are you from? I'm from Mason Square. Where are you from? I'm from East Forest Park. Where are you from? From the North End. If you ask somebody in New York, I'm from New York City, even though they have a whole lot of boroughs in New York City. We have to get back to, we're one city. Ladies, I'm going to say that one more time, and we understand that, we'll move forward as a city, because it's how you treat the least of them. And some folks don't feel part of this Springfield insurgents. They don't feel part of it. And until we understand that, put everybody in the boat, and we all go together, because one is not going over without the other. So we have a lot of work to do. There's a lot of money being spent in this infrastructure. But we need to make sure our programs, our apprentice programs, our jobs, our residency, that people buy and stay in the city of Springfield. Residency is big. It's really big to me. And I really mean that. At the end of the day, may I finish?
You can finish your statement. You can finish your statement. Go ahead.
And my last statement, at the end of the day, we're one Springfield.
Thank you, Bud. Tim Rook.
Thank you. Thank you to each and every one of you who took the time to come out here tonight to listen to each and every one of us. Some of what we say you probably don't agree with, and that's why Thomas Jefferson said democracy is loud. I like to think of myself as a workhorse. There's a show and as a workhorse. I may be one of the few city councilors that actually read the community host agreement with MGM Casino. I may be one of the few that read the entire budget. I find great joy in reading boring material. So one of the reasons I say that is you have to be informed when you take a vote to understand it, and you have to be fair and try to be judicious in your vote. And a lot of times you're not going to walk out of the room as the most favored person, but it's important to be fair on every issue, and that's what I try to do. And I try to do a good job because I know it's a responsibility to be a city councilor. You're appointed as a steward of the taxpayer and the people's money. And I take that to heart, and I try and do that as best I can. So regardless of who you vote for and if you vote, take into consideration the time that each and every one of these candidates have taken away from their family, and try and take the time to vote. And when you do, look for Rook. Thank you.
Thank you, Tim. Ken Pooler.
I truly believe that it's time for the city to get rid of this smoke screen of downtown. I think there's a lot of hidden things going on that the public aren't aware of, and we find out too late. It seems very funny to me that although Mr. Williams says that we didn't have to vote on the biomass. Okay, why do we have to wait for a subcommittee to remove the Jersey barriers downtown? We can take and put a biomass plant in without having to vote, but yet we have to send something such as the Jersey barriers that businesses that they say they support. We have to send the subcommittee something to have them talk about removing Jersey barriers that our businesses have asked to have removed, that they're saying they're interfering with the quality of their businesses. If I'm elected, I have a plan that I believe everybody wants to bring business to Springfield, but nobody continues to talk about the businesses that built Springfield. Before the Lowe's, before the Walmart, before the Home Depots, before all these big companies came into Springfield, we had small businesses that built Springfield to where they are. I'm a true believer that we need to give tax relief based on tenure in this city. I have a friend of mine that owns a business in the South End, and he fights crime every day himself. I have a friend of mine who has a business in the North End. He fights crime himself. They are highly taxed and never receive anything as far as support from the people that we vote in each year. They could say they support it, that's fine. We have a cop that drives back and forth on Main Street. It doesn't deter anything from happening down there for longer than the 5 seconds that they're in that area. If elected, I promise you, and the only promise you're going to get from me, I will listen to you. I will be there to support you. You will get it how it is. You're not going to get a sugar coating. As I said earlier, I'm not a piece of clay that can be molded and conformed into a politician. I'm Ken Pooler. I'm the same guy today as I'm going to be after Election Day. I ask you to come out and support me.
Thank you, Ken. Jesse Letterman.
Well, I want to take the opportunity to again thank the Neighborhood Council, AIC, Power, and all of you for giving myself and my colleagues the opportunity to share our ideas for how to make Springfield better. You know, when I first announced my candidacy for the City Council, I was extremely humbled to have the support of my friends, of my family, down to my announcement in February at Red Rose. But what's been an even more amazing experience for me is traveling throughout our neighborhoods and talking with our residents at their doors, at their community meetings. And it's given me so much insight into every single one of our city's 17 neighborhoods. I've said from the beginning that I'm running for the Springfield City Council to ensure that every resident from the North End to Mason Square to East Forest Park has a city councilor they can count on. And I am running to represent every neighborhood, but I am by no means naive enough to believe I know everything there is to know about every neighborhood. But what I do know is where to find the answers to those questions, and that's in the community, at the doors, at the neighborhood council meetings. You know, what I found with residents of Springfield is there is so much passion and pride in our city, but people are busy. They're raising their families. They're working 9-to-5 jobs. They don't have time to come down to the city council speak out every Monday night or time to attend a debate like this in many cases. But if you go to them and you look for answers, they will tell you their ideas for this city. And so what I've said from the beginning is, I'm not running just to hold the title of city councilor. I'm running to be your city councilor. And I'm very proud to have the endorsement of the AFL-CIO, the UFCW, of State Representative Swan, of City Councilor E. Henry Twiggs, of City Councilor Saida Luna, but I am much more proud to have the endorsement of a gentleman who I met at the Indian Orchard Neighborhood Council 6 months ago. And I went to the Indian Orchard Neighborhood Council 3 times, just as I've gone to many other neighborhood councils across our city. But he came to me the last time I was there and he said, you know, I've seen you here and I've heard you speak and you've never changed your tone. And so I'm going to vote for you because I trust you. And that's what I'll pledge to you is I'm not just asking you to vote for me, I'm asking you to count on me, because to imply that you should vote for me says our relationship ends when you leave the polling booth. And that's not how local government should work. Thank you.
Thank you, Jesse. Justin Hurst.
Thank you, Keyshawn. I remember years ago when we were at this debate, we were all rushing out of here looking to see the Red Sox game. And now that the Yankees are the only ones who are playing this evening and in the playoffs, I'm certainly willing to field some more questions. No, but with all due respect, it's been an absolute privilege to serve the citizens of Springfield for the last 2 years. And I pride myself off of the fact I stand on the shoulders of some great individuals who have come before me, who have paved the way for me to do the great things that I can do. And one thing that they've taught me is to always give back, and they've taught me to work as hard as I possibly can. And I thought when I was elected to the city council that things would be easy. And I was quickly humbled very early on and recognized that the only way that you're going to accomplish anything on the city council is through collaboration. And so that's what I've spent the last 2 years doing. As chair of the Young Professionals Committee, and I give credit to our president, Mike Fenton, for coming up with this committee, and I also want to acknowledge Jay Latore, who's in the audience. I've had the opportunity to do some great things with some great individuals who are dedicated and invested in this city. We were able to bring Restaurant Week to downtown. In addition, we were able to create a Facebook page and make recommendations to the website to make it user-friendly. We also were able to pass the pawn shop ordinance, which I thought was absolutely critical when it comes to increasing public safety, and I'll give Tom Ash a lot of credit for that. But before me being on the council, this did not pass, and upon my arrival, it passed immediately. And so while I continue to invest in our youth and recognize that they are our future, I've done a number of things, and I plan to continue to do a number of good things. For the first time in a long time, this city now has open gyms and enrichment programs that are starting in October. Another opportunity for our children to get off the streets and do something positive with their time. In addition, we passed a My Brother's Keeper resolution, which aims to close the gap between minority youth and minority men of color and their counterparts. So I enjoy serving the city of Springfield. I appreciate your consideration on November 3rd. And I also want to thank the rest of the councilors who are here, my colleagues, as well as the candidates who are running for office. It's not easy. Thank you.
Thank you, Justin. Jeffrey Donnelly.
Yes, I'm not your typical politician. What I am is I'm someone who actually talks the talk but also walks the walk. I have gone down to downtown Springfield at 2 in the morning and talk to people. I've talked to the addicts. I've talked to the criminals. I've talked to the gangbangers. I've actually talked to these people, and no one talks to the people that are actually committing the crimes, but they point at them. I talk to them. I talk to you guys as well. You know, I believe in getting rid of corruption, as I've already said. I also believe in the quality of life issues need to be. There is no reason that someone should be fined $50 because the number fell off their house. Different things like that need to be addressed because from one side to the other, we have issues that need to be addressed for the city to come together, be whole, where people are not being taken advantage of. I'm finished.
Thank you, Jeff. Tom Ash.
Thank you, Keyshawn, and thank you, Walter, and students, and especially to all for coming down here tonight. This is truly democracy in action, and this is the way it was designed, and this is the way it's supposed to be, and make your decisions accordingly. It's been truly a privilege and an honor to have served on the city council and in government for about 15 years, and even though that seems like a long time, I still have the same zeal and zest and excitement I do for the job it seems when I first started. And I take the responsibility very, very seriously. I thoroughly enjoy working with my colleagues on the council. It seems like everyone has a particular skill set that we take advantage of and work together towards a common goal. My particular niche has been public safety, and with your approval and support, I hope to continue that work. I have great admiration, respect for the candidates who are here tonight, who put themselves out there for the public to dissect. It's not an easy thing to do, and they're worthy of your respect and our respect as well. Thank you again for coming here. Appreciate your time and your effort, and we hope to be doing a good job on your behalf. Thank you.
Thank you, Tom. Thank you, everyone, for coming out. I would like to also, before you leave, Focus Springfield for taping this event. And for the man of the hour, Paul Swinson, for having us on task. Thank you. And to the McKnight Neighborhood Council and Mont Clemens, the president, for allowing the work of the community to come into American International College. I always say that Springfield's our best neighbor, but it shows that our neighbors are our best neighbor. So please remember to get out to vote. These are your candidates for the 2015 At-Large City Council. Thank you, Walter Kroll, my moderator with me, and also Rebecca Gray, my president of Power. I think she did a great job as a student leader. And thank you to the residents of the city of Springfield. Please get out your vote in November and remind your neighbors to do the same. Thank you and have a good night.